you've done a lot of things that people probably don't know about. In 1994, you became the youngest editor of a British national newspaper in 50 years when you were appointed editor of News of the World by Rupert Murdoch, and you were 29?
28.
28. Editor. That's unheard of.
It was a very strange thing. And I remember Rupert Murdoch flying me to Miami, walking me along Miami Beach with our shoes and socks off for 3 hours, talking about life and the universe. Never once mentioned what I was doing there. I was the editor of the show business column in the Sun newspaper, and these were his two big tabloids in Britain, two of the biggest selling papers in the world at the time. And the News of the World was number one. It was the most read newspaper in the world. And he introduced me to somebody at a party that night. And I'd been with him for about 10 hours by now. And he said the words, "This is my friend Piers Morgan from London. He's the new editor of the News of the World." That's how I found out.
That's how you found out you had the job?
That's how I found out.
You didn't even know you were there to talk about the job.
I had no idea what I was doing there at all.
Really?
Yep, really. And then he flew me to New York in his private plane, and we talked newspapers for the whole time. It was like a masterclass from somebody who understands the business of newspapers, how they're produced, how they're marketed, how they're sold, how they're edited, better than anyone I've ever worked with in my life. And at the end of it, I took my bag off his plane. He said, "Okay, Piers, good luck. You're going to be a great success. Don't worry about it. Off you go." And I flew back to London that night. I was thinking, what the hell just happened? And I stayed good friends with Rupert over the years, and actually I was at a dinner party recently where I finally got to really thank him. I actually, at about midnight, we had a couple of glasses of wine. I said, "I just want to thank you, Rupert, because actually without you making that huge leap of faith on a rookie," that's all I was. I was a rookie. He just had an instinct. And I said, if you hadn't done that, then the rest of my career could have been very, very different. I think at some stage in all our lives, you need somebody somewhere to go, "I'm going to take a punt on this guy."
Were you overwhelmed? Were you scared? Were you excited? What was your, I think 28 years old.
I was apprehensive. I was certainly very excited. I think what I would say from memory was there's a fearlessness of youth, which is very useful in that situation. And I think I walked into the newsroom and I could see a staff that was 98% younger than me, and I was the boss, which was a very weird dynamic. But I also felt, well, look, I've got this opportunity. Expectation levels are very, very low. There's only one way to go here if I get it right, which is up. And we began to break some big stories. And the more stories we broke, the more we got talked about, the more the sales figures increased, the more I could feel the room beginning to move with me. And it would be like running a sports franchise or whatever it may be. It's really about leadership and about making things work. If it works, then you tend to take people with you. If it doesn't work, you don't.
How long were you in that job?
I was in that job for just under 2 years, and then I got poached by the rivals, the Daily Mirror.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I was getting quite bored with the pace of a once-a-week newspaper. I was still under 30. I was very full of energy. We'd had a brilliant couple of years. And the Daily Mirror came along, and they offered to double my money and give me a daily paper. But, of course, it would mean going up against Rupert Murdoch now. And that in itself actually was an extraordinary challenge and one that I thoroughly enjoyed, even though I have to say he normally won.
You were at the Daily Mirror when the phone hacking scandal took place. What was your position in and on all of that?
I was aware of this thing called phone hacking. I was never involved in phone hacking, despite a lot of my opponents' attempts to try and drag me into it. I was investigated pretty thoroughly. I employed probably 1,000 journalists over the 10 years I was at the Daily Mirror. Not one of those journalists has ever been arrested or charged or convicted of any offence in connection with phone hacking. So, I'm very comfortable about my position about it. Having said that, I think it was something that clearly for the industry was a very bad thing. I think that ultimately you had a bunch of lazy journalists who were trying to cut corners by hacking into people's phones and getting stories. And I think that they paid, in some cases, a very heavy price for that. And rightly so. I think the industry woke up, realised it was wrong. And thankfully that won't be happening again. But to those, who to this day on Twitter, I get people saying, "You did this, you did this, you did that." I did not hack a phone in my life, nor did I ever tell anybody to.